marking its 10-year anniversary this year, but equally importantly, we are marking 10 years until the SDG goal of ending child marriage by 2030. Sadly, COVID has changed the world, and as we all know, the brunt has been borne by girls everywhere. According to the UNICEF, 25 million child marriages were averted in the last decade, but this progress seems to be under grave threat now, with an additional 10 million child marriages expected till 2030, which will be an addition to the already 100 million girls that were expected to be married in this time. At this stage, the Power to Girls campaign is not about putting the onus for change only on the shoulders of girls, but to say that each and every one of us, as individuals, as families, as donors, as community, as CSOs, as governments, need to work together to create an environment where girls can get more power, more opportunities, and they can increase their voice and exercise their choice. We are very excited to use this new global campaign to call for urgent action on child marriage and to hold decision makers to account for their commitments. In our inaugural session today, we are going to dive into how you can actually run an effective Power to Girls campaign. Our session is going to be broken into two halves. In the first half, our esteemed members from Africa and Asia are going to share their experiences and learnings on campaigning to end child marriage. And in the second half, my colleagues from Girls Not Brides will share more about how to launch your own campaign. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists today. Laia, I would just request you to bring up the presentation. Our first panelist is Hope, who joins us from Uganda. Hope is a teacher and a counselor by profession with 16 years experience working closely with students in schools and parents in communities. She is also the founder and executive director of Raising Teenagers Uganda. She also coordinates the central region in Uganda under the Girls Not Brides Uganda Alliance that's working to end child marriage in Uganda with more than 100 organizations. Welcome, Hope. Our second esteemed panelist is Jonas, who's a youth advocate and a communications expert. He joins us from Benin. He's working for adolescent reproductive health and the rights of girls and women. In 2016, he organized a silent march to break the silence around child marriages. And this culminated in the creation of a platform of more than 30 youth CSOs. He is the president of the association Rikmao ASO, and also serves as the General Secretariat of the National Partnership for the Fight Against Child Marriage. Pooja, our third panelist, holds a postgraduate diploma in rural development and a master's degree in Gandhian thought. She has more than 2 decades of work experience in the development sector and has been working tirelessly to enhance the rights of girls and women. She is also an experienced trainer on gender and adolescent health issues, and is the founder, one of the founders and the president of Srijan Foundation in Jharkhand, India. Today, she also represents the GNB Jharkhand network of more than 50 CSOs working in East India in the state of Jharkhand. Welcome, Pooja. Our next two panelists, it's my pleasure to introduce Zoe, who is our Senior Policy and Advocacy Officer at Girls Not Brides. She develops, runs global advocacy campaigns and initiatives, and supports the engagement and alignment of our member organizations in global advocacy. She is joined by Miranda, who is our Senior Digital Officer. And prior to joining Girls Not Brides, Miranda was the Senior Communications Officer for the Orchid Project, an INGO that works against FGM. So welcome to all three of you. And to begin this discussion, I would like to ask Jonas. Jonas, as a youth leader coming from Africa, what do you think are the 2 most important things we need to do today to make our campaigns effective, especially considering the context and the impact of COVID-19? Yes, we can hear you.
Bonjour, est-ce que vous me recevez?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oui, on vous entend.
Allô? OK, parfait. Merci beaucoup. Merci
Thank you very much.
tout le monde, à tous les panélistes et pour ce programme, pour cette session. Aujourd'hui, nous menons beaucoup d'actions pour la lutte contre le mariage des enfants dans plusieurs qu'on appelle domaines, dans plusieurs pays. Maintenant, nos actions à l'endroit des jeunes filles aussi en période de crise. La première des choses, c'est que notre campagne doit être basée sur des évidences. Quand je parle d'évidence, je retourne aux histoires de vie. Dans les communautés, il y a jeunes filles qui vivent des situations très pénibles. Nous devons faire en sorte de pouvoir, qu'on appelle, avoir ces récits, prendre en compte les réels problèmes, les faire parler de leur cœur, dire, relater tout ce qu'ils vivent, afin que ces personnes soient pour amplifier leur voix. Nous devons assurer que ce sont les voix des filles victimes, cette voix que nous allons appuyer pour pouvoir faire des plaidoyers, des orientations plus justes. La deuxième chose, c'est que l'implication des jeunes.
Thank you so much, Jonas, for sharing that with us, and completely agree. Evidence and voices from the ground and amplification is an important role that.
Merci beaucoup, Jonas, d'avoir partagé. Nous sommes très d'accord que oui, nous avons besoin d'essais basés sur des évidences.
I would now like to move to Pooja. Pooja, would you like to add to anything that Jonas has said from an Asia perspective?
धन्यवाद दिव्या जी, सभी को जोहार।
Thank you, Divya. I agree with Jonas. And I say that girls
पूरा इकोसिस्टम है जो इन एंड अराउंड काम करते हैं, चाहे वो पेरेंट्स हो, चाहे वो फैमिली हो, चाहे वो पास पड़ोस के लोग हों, चाहे
families, neighborhoods,
जो लोग हैं जो किसी न किसी रूप में
Por ahora.
किसी न किसी रूप में वो कोई ना कोई भूमिका निभाते हैं बाल विवाह को होने में, तो उनके साथ भी साइमल्टेनियसली समानांतर रूप से काम करने की आवश्यकता है।
to parallelly work with all these structures. And the girls need to have, and the organizations need to have an enabling environment to raise their voice, and we need to strengthen their voices. So the entire ecosystem needs to be worked with. And the girls and adolescent girls need to give them the leadership of the campaign.
लेके चलेंगे तभी हम कह सकते हैं कि इसको हम जड़ से खत्म करने में कामयाब हो पाएंगे। और हमने इसको प्रैक्टिकली देखा भी है, जहां लड़कियां खुद की आवाज को
practically, where we have supported the girls' voices. Other girls have come forward and they have stopped child marriages. So when a girl is getting married, other girls go and support the end of that child marriage. And even the other girls' parents have joined them to stop that child marriage. So we all need to work together to stop child marriages, and these small incidences
अच्छा से जुड़ी रहती हैं तो भी उनके बाल विवाह की संभावना कम बनती है, क्योंकि परिवार को भी लगता है कि वो कहीं न कहीं इंगेज है, तो उनका उनके ऊपर ध्यान नहीं जाता है। और लड़कियां भी ग्रो होती है, थोड़ा मैच्योर होती हैं, वो अपने कैरियर के बारे में सोचने लगती है, और वो फिर थोड़ा उनका जो नेगोशिएशन का पावर होता है वो धीरे धीरे बिल्ड होता है। तो ये 2-3 स्तर पे काम करने की आवश्यकता है। उनको एजुकेशन से जोड़ा जाए, पूरा जो इन्वायरमेंट है, उनके जो इम्पोर्टेंट इकोसिस्टम के लोग हैं उनको शामिल किया जाए, और किशोरियों की आवाज को बुलंद करने के लिए उन्हें सशक्त किया जाए।
Thank you so much, Pooja ji and Jonas.
Muchísimas gracias por haber hablado acerca de la importancia de la niña y no solamente la importancia de trabajar con diferentes colegas en la unidad. Eso es una parte muy importante de la campaña que nosotros tenemos, trabajando con diferentes actores, tomando acción
For girls.
colectiva
Hope
para
I
ofrecer apoyo.
as one of the
Ahora,
most active partnerships in the Girls Not
como
Brides partnership.
una de las asociaciones más poderosas. Ahora, usted podría hablar acerca de uno de los éxitos en Uganda. Yo sé que usted tiene diapositiva. Por favor, comparte con nosotros las diapositivas para que
Soit partagé, merci.
Thank you so much, Divya. I greet everyone that is listening in, and I congratulate girls
Je salue
for
tout.
this.
felicitar a Girls Not Brides, niñas no esposas, por esa campaña. Y nosotros estamos a acabar con los matrimonios de las niñas. Me llamo Hope en Uganda. Yo dirijo un equipo que trabaja con los adolescentes en Uganda. Y nosotros trabajamos en la región central en Uganda. Es importante notar que en Uganda nosotros tenemos 105 organizaciones registrados como miembros que participan en esta campaña. Y una característica en la gestión de esta organización, nosotros tuvimos que establecer liderazgo regional para dirigir los miembros y darle la oportunidad de participar, marcando su presencia en las organizaciones. Nosotros tenemos acontecimientos, reuniones anuales en 3 días.
Events करते हैं.
Les filles, en 2018, nous avons
Platforms to young people to share their stories, but also to key stakeholders to come and share their achievements, but also get their heads together on how to get a girl child at the center of programming. Involving key stakeholders has been part of our successes, and here specifically we look at religious and cultural leaders. We work with the media as well, and the members of parliament and line ministries, with that of ensuring that we all speak the same language, ending child marriage. A key success that I want to talk about here is how Girls Not Brides Uganda has worked closely with religious leaders. These are very key and important persons in society, yet sometimes they are not involved so much in the issues of child protection. Girls Not Brides members work so much closely with religious leaders as our key champions that are promoting positive parenting. We realize that these are people that many Ugandans will listen to. Every time they are going to do churches, they are always positive and looking forward to a message coming from a man of God. So we have partnered with religious leaders so that they can incorporate our message of child
pour
protection.
nous, c'est important.
Para
And this is
comunicar el
mensaje
de protección de la niña y necesitamos colaborar con ellos.
now understanding their role in child protection, but also people who are part of the church programs being able to understand their role as young people, how to be full with their lives, stay true the dreams they have for their future. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope. That was marvelous. And we all know and realize that religious leaders are such an important stakeholder in the community, an influential stakeholder. But it's really heartening to see the way that GNB Uganda has managed to really bring them into this ecosystem to support girls. Thank you. I will now request Pooja to share. Pooja, you also belong to a very active coalition in the Indian state of Jharkhand. And recently you submitted and have received a coalition grant under the Power to Girls campaign. Could you share with us how you plan to respond to the needs of adolescent girls in your state under this campaign? We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
हम लोग ने जो पावर टू गर्ल कैंपेन का जो प्लान किया है उसमें
The planning we have done for Power to Girls campaign, we have planned it keeping in mind the constraints placed by COVID. We had never
तो कोई तैयारी भी उस आधार पे नहीं थी हमारी, लेकिन कोविड
situation which we are presented with, and COVID has taught us to work in different ways.
बात कहूँ तो झारखंड में 24 जिले हैं, तो पिछले कई दिनों से 23 जिलों में से 0 केसेस रिपोर्ट हो रहे
And in
हैं।
23 districts, we have not had any case of COVID. And only one district, we have received very low infection rates. So we are very happy that we are in the, it's too soon to feel that we are in the safe zone because the third wave is about to strike. But despite that, in the past 1.5 years, during the lockdown of Corona, we learned to work digitally in different ways. How to contact people, how to contact communities. We have developed an understanding about it because we did not have any tools how to reach to the community. Because our strength was always a direct communication with the community, and we were becoming weak on that strength. And then we started using digital medium to contact people one-to-one. There were WhatsApp groups. We were also making video clips which were developed by other organizations. We were sharing that with the community. So we started implementing.
ये एक change agent या एक particular location के लिए
turned out to be an effective change agent. And they worked very actively to keep the people connected, to keep the girls connected with each other. So using peer leaders was one very effective medium. Apart from that, we worked with the frontline workers at the community level. We were regularly in contact with them because they had Android phones. So we were posting our communication to them. And we developed a lot of volunteers who played a very active role where girls were becoming very depressed. They were not being able to go to school. They were not able to talk to anybody because everybody was at home. So everybody was keeping an eye on the girls. Who are you talking to on the mobile? So all these situations were very difficult for the girls, and the peers played a very active role to give them some sort of psychological support.
Pooja,
So
in a nutshell, this is great to understand the background. Therefore, in this background, could you just share with us very briefly what you plan to do in the Part 2 Girls campaign?
थैंक यू दिव्या जी। हमने जो पावर टू गर्ल कैंपेन का प्लान किया है, इसमें झारखंड से 6 साथी सदस्य संस्थाएं।
So we have 6 member organizations who are connected to this Power to Girls campaign. It's going to be led by peer-led approach. And these organizations will play a facilitator role. This campaign will be launched in 2 phases. In the first phase, all of these organizations work with adolescent girls, and we have developed peer leaders there. So we will organize capacity building programs with these peer leaders and tell them about the campaign, what are the goals and how to run this campaign. And at the same time, we will develop information and communication material on stopping child marriages. This will be our preparation. And all the peer leaders through the organizations will implement the campaign in their villages, in their areas, and they will use different mediums. We will be organizing one big meeting where the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, health service providers, teachers will all be invited to attend this big meeting. We will develop some questions and have an open discussion on these questions. We are also developing slogans and wall writings on the issue. And at village level, when the campaign will reach the end, at village level, they will take an oath that they will not allow child marriages around wherever they live. And
होगा और ये साइमल्टेनियसली 6 संस्थाओं के कार्यक्षेत्र में होगा। फिर इसके बाद जब इसकी लर्निंग्स को, इसके फाइंडिंग्स को, इसके गैप्स
after this, we will take their learnings and findings and the gaps. We'll collect all this information and work with the peer leaders in the second phase to prepare for the next phase. And whatever findings, learnings, and gaps we have found, we are going to take them to our district level officers. We'll share it with them. And that will be also done by the girls themselves because they have seen the campaign themselves. So their voice will be very powerful. And all the ICU material, the flashcards, charts, whatever we have used, it will be developed as IC and presented to these district officers.
ताकि सभी लोग अगर
So that people who visit these places, they will see this material, and this material will help us spread the information.
Thank you so much, Pooja. Thank you so much. I know you have a lot more to share. I can see the passion from your face, but our time is limited. I really felt that, you know, what Jonas said about taking the voices from the ground, amplifying the voices from the ground, and making sure that they reach the right platform. I think your campaign seems to be doing that very well. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, I would just like to request, the three of you have been working for very many years. You have rich experience. Our time here is very short. So if I could just ask each of you to share, based on your experience, what is one key learning or one piece of advice that you would like to give the audience here on running an effective campaign to end child marriage? What is one learning that you'd like to share with the audience here? And I would like to start with Hope, please.
Thank you, Divya. I think one key learning that I would share with the world here is that we need
Importante que je vais
necesitamos considerar
religious leaders. Religious
Hope का
leaders
कहना है कि धार्मिक
in a way that they meet so many parents on a weekly basis. Parents that we can never meet in our programmings. Parents that come to church ready and set to listen to what these religious leaders are going to talk about. So if we involve them in our plans and we get them to understand the campaign, why it is important to empower the girl child, why it's important to support these girls to go back to school. We realize that in Uganda, we've been in a lockdown for over about 2 years now. Kids are out of school. So many are even thinking of giving up because they think they have overgrown, or others think they don't remember what they used to learn. So they feel if they go back, they won't understand. But if we have religious leaders on board, and these kids are going to church because now they are open, and maybe in other countries, they can be able to share and tell them that there's nothing more important in life than education. And that one doesn't get, it's not about the age, it's not about how many years you have. That's why we have people of 60 years going for masters, people of 50 years going for PhD. So we need to encourage young people to be focused onto their dreams. COVID came, it is going to go away, but our dreams must be achieved. And we can only do that if we involve these key stakeholders so that they carry forward our message to places where we can never reach, CSOs and as partners, especially in rural Uganda, like in my country. There are places that have never seen a civil society organization.
Thank you.
All the leaders and they carry it. It will be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hope, for your inspiring words. We have to create the pathway for girls to dream. Thank you. Jonas, I'd like to move to you now. What is one key advice you would give us?
Alors?
Yes, Jonas, we can hear you.
Okay.
Hello.
Merci beaucoup. J'espère que vous me recevez pour la question.
Thank you very much. I hope that you can hear me. So there are two things that I want to share.
Ma collègue qui vient de
Cosas que gostaria a compartir sobre
premier, le mariage des enfants a des causes d'un pays à un autre, d'une région à une autre, et dans le même pays, les causes d'une commune, d'une localité à une autre localité. Ce qu'il faut faire, c'est qu'il faut arriver à trouver le véritable moyen, la véritable raison pour laquelle cette communauté marie les filles avant l'âge de 18 ans. Et ce qui voudra dire, nous devons identifier les normes sociales qui sous-tendent le mariage des enfants d'une communauté à une autre. Et après avoir identifié les normes sociales, nous devons les maîtriser, c'est-à-dire chercher à comprendre plus sur quelle base, d'où est tirée cette norme. Est-ce que ça a les appels religieux? Est-ce que ce sont des aspirations personnelles à la communauté qu'ils ont transformées en normes? Est-ce que c'est l'effet de mode parce que telle personne le fait et nous devons aussi le faire? Et en troisième position, nous devons influencer, trouver les moyens pour pouvoir influencer les normes sociales. Nous ne devons pas tout de suite rejeter la norme, mais nous devons négocier la norme. Négocier la norme pour dire expliquer plus peut-être ce que la communauté ne comprend pas et ce que nous comprenons et trouver un terrain d'entente. En faisant ça, nous pouvons limiter un peu les conflits. Parce que des expériences tirées, c'est vrai, nous allons parler de l'impunité, sanctionner le mariage des enfants, mais après l'impunité, nous avons constaté que, par exemple, au Bénin, lorsque nous arrivons à sauver une fille du mariage des enfants, la fille est rejetée par la famille. Or, nous n'avons pas assez de structures de protection pour prendre en charge des enfants. Donc, il faut négocier les normes sociales et trouver un terrain d'entente. Le deuxième conseil que je veux partager, c'est de travailler avec les hommes. C'est de mobiliser, d'engager les hommes. Parce que c'est les hommes qui décident de marier les filles avant l'âge de 18 ans. C'est les hommes qui décident aussi de prendre pour épouse les jeunes filles de moins de 18 ans. Si nous arrivons à impliquer efficacement les hommes et les jeunes garçons dans la lutte contre le mariage des enfants, je suis sûr que nous ferons d'eux un vecteur de bon comportement. Merci.
Thank you so
Merci
much.
beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Jonas.
Particular society. Thank you so much. I now turn to Pooja. Pooja, if you could just very quickly share your piece of advice with us.
थोड़ा सा 2 लाइन और बोलना चाहूंगी सुझाव से पहले कि जब हम साथ
Before the suggestion, I would like to say 2 more things. When we talk about the reasons behind
resaltar dos cosas. Cuando hablamos de las razones
शादी कर दो, स्कूल बंद है या
que aportan para estos matrimonios de infantil, tiene razones de agricultura, por ejemplo, tiene razones de que las escuelas se encuentran muy lejos y se están buscando también más materiales para hacer.
Discrimination जो है वो है जो
pueden también crear inseguridad en las familias y detrás de esta inseguridad tiene también estructura patriarcal donde los niños, los hombres se crían diferentemente. Entonces hay diferentes razones detrás de este matrimonio infantil y entender.
Related or involved in child marriages, we have to work with them. So cultural leaders, traditional leaders, we need to work with them. Education system we need to work with, which teaches them that the girl needs to bring water and clean the house and the boy needs to go out and earn. We need to work with that education system. So this entire ecosystem, the entire environment, so we need to engage them in our campaign. And we work with all the stakeholders. All the stakeholders have an important role in promoting child marriages. So we need to work with them comprehensively. And when their attention is attracted to the issues, we can impact this whole issue.
Thank you so much,
And it needs to
Pooja ji.
become an issue of the entire society.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it needs to be focused in the society and not just one of the issues. I think we have to put girls at the heart of all our work. Thank you so much for those suggestions. I'd now like to invite, all of you are aware of the Power to Girls campaign, and this is an opportunity for us to also personally renew our commitment to this journey of putting girls at the heart of all our work. I'd like to invite Jonas to share his personal commitment to this Power to Girls campaign, please.
Alors, mon engagement. My commitment, I am already committed when it comes to gender and fighting child marriage from 2016. I integrated UNICEF in 2016, where we had a national campaign to end this. J'ai eu beaucoup d'expérience et aujourd'hui, c'est vrai, je souhaite encore en apprendre plus des organisations et même qu'on appelle en fait carrière dans le genre. Et mon engagement que je veux partager avec vous, c'est que cette année 2020 nous a permis, avec l'arrivée du coronavirus, de pouvoir comprendre. Through coronavirus, we were able to understand our interventions. My commitment now that I've created a program to mobilize the youth, especially the boys, so that with them we try and transform them to be allies to fight child marriage. That is to say, I'm going to transform them, educate them, so that they be aware of this question of gender and they become volunteers. Why young boys? Because they need to change their behavior. MP2030, rather, with a vision, this is the movement to change their behavior so that we have an equitable or a world where everybody is able to say what they need. So from now towards 2030, we are going to take forward this question of gender, and this is going to allow us to have youth who are aware that we don't have to be violent in society and who are going to really defend our cause. Then we educate them so that they can accompany their counterparts during this time, because we have seen that we are having more and more girls who are not growing in the hands of their parents, and we can help in this aspect. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Jonas. And if my colleague Laya could just share the presentation where we already have two commitments from both Hope and Pooja. Hope's commitment is that she pledges, I pledge that I will continue mentoring young girls and providing psychosocial support to those in need of guidance and counseling services as they work towards realizing their full potential. And she also says that I pledge to be a constant inspiration for young people as I encourage them to stay in school and complete their education. Thank you, Hope. And coming to Pooja's commitment, Pooja says, I pledge that I will work to empower girls and create an ecosystem of equality to empower their voices. Similar to our three esteemed panelists, Laya has also shared the link in the chat box where we would invite each and every one of you to put in your personal commitments. And this will go up on our website very shortly. So with this, I would like to thank all three of our panelists. And I now turn to my colleagues, Zoe and Miranda, who have been at the heart of the Power to Girls campaign from its inception. Zoe and Miranda, I would request you to talk through the different ways that civil society can run a Power to Girls campaign, whether in their own country or in their community. And if there are any specific questions to Zoe and Miranda that you might have, I would request you to put them in the chat box. And once they've gone through their presentation, we'll have a space to answer those questions. Thank you. Over to you, Zoe and Miranda.
Thank you so much, Divya. And thank you to everyone in this session and to everyone joining us today. I am really excited to be here to talk about our new Power to Girls campaign. And as we've heard already in this session, we know that collective action and campaigning is a really critical tool to Power to Girls campaign comes at a moment when more than ever. Oh, is my connection still working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Zoe, we can hear you.
Great. So yes, and I think this comes at a really important moment for us when we need more than ever to show the urgency behind acting now to end child marriage. So we are launching this Power to Girls campaign, and we will be using the next 6 months to really amplify the messages behind this campaign and come together as a global community to push that out. And you can see on the screen here that we have some really key messages and concepts that we want to get across as part of this. So we really want to show that it's vital to remove barriers to girls' freedom and agency and enable and provide them with opportunities to make choices about their bodies, lives and futures. And of course, the choice whether, if, who and when they get married. So girls are really at the center of our campaign. And the way that we want to do this is by encouraging decision makers to make bold commitments that will be funded and actioned so that we can use this Power to Girls campaign to hold these decision makers to account for the promises that they have made on child marriage. And Miranda and I are going to spend some time today talking through the campaign and how you can get involved, how you can run your own campaign. And we have a campaign toolkit, which I hope my colleagues can put a link to in the chat box, which will take you through step by step on how you can get engaged. And I will hand over to Miranda now to talk through the first step of this.
Thank you, Zoe. So as Zoe was explaining, the main call to action for the Power to Girls campaign is to gain commitments to end child marriage. And the reason behind this is because we want to build an overwhelming sense of support for this issue to really show decision makers that we are all behind this and we want action to be taken. So the most important thing that you can do to be part of the campaign is to make a campaign commitment. And that can be either as an individual or on behalf of your organization. And the most important thing when you're making your commitment is that it needs to be meaningful to you or to your organization. So, for example, if you're an activist working in your community, you might want to commit to speaking about child marriage in a community group. Or if you're working as an organization, you might want to commit to calling out your political representatives to take action. And you can see other people's commitments. We already have a few that have come in, which is very exciting. For inspiration, by going to the commitment tracker on Girls Not Brides website. So you can have a look at those in different languages. If you go to the next slide, please. We have an example here of a commitment from Girls Not Brides CEO, Dr. Faith Mwangi Powell. So if you could press play on that, we'll have a listen.
I support Power to Girls, and I commit deeper engagement at the country level and stronger investment so that together we can deliver change we want to see.
So thanks to Faith for that video. The strength of the Power to Girls campaign is going to be in our multitude of voices to demonstrate that there is overwhelming support for action to end child marriage. So please do go to the commitment tracker today and make your commitments. And that's on the Girls Not Brides website by going to girlsnotbrides.org/power-to-girls. I'll hand back over to Zoe.
Thank you. So while we do have the Global Power to Girls campaign, which will really be helping to draw attention to child marriage at that global level, one of the really important aspects of this campaign is running different national level campaigns to try to draw attention to more context-specific issues and directing change and actions towards local decision makers. So this is why we're really encouraging as many individuals, organizations and groups to run their own national level campaign. So we're going to spend some time now just talking through ways that we could make this happen. And the first bit of any campaign is the planning, which is my personal favorite bit. So I'm just going to talk through a few quick sections that is really important to think through as we start to plan national campaigning. First of all, what is your objective? So the first thing to consider is the change that we want to see with the campaign. What is the commitment that is needed in your local area to drive action on child marriage? And this can be as specific or as general as you like. It could range from asking for funding to get girls into school in a local region to asking the president to make a broad commitment on support to end child marriage. It is worth bearing in mind that for a campaign, the more specific the commitment is, the easier it is to hold them to account. Once you have decided what your campaign objective will be, the next thing is to think about your campaign targets. So who has the power to create the change you want to see? So when we think about this, we need to think about who might have the ability to create change. The most power, for example, the president or prime minister. It may be more effective to think if we want to create or change financial situations, what about looking at the Minister of Finance? What about looking in the local government to see who could create change there? It's also important to think about your access to the targets and if you will be able to encourage them personally to create change, or if they may have a personal issue or interest in child marriage that you could incorporate into your advocacy. And finally, just thinking about how realistic your commitment is. Is your ask to the decision maker or target something that they will actually be able to do? Next up is choose your partners. So we all know that we're stronger when we work together. And if we join forces with other civil society in our area, we can really help amplify that message. One of the ways that we can help you is by linking you up with other Girls Not Brides members in the area. So do go to our website, or indeed you can contact us directly and we can connect you with other Girls Not Brides members. And then, so it's worth thinking about any meetings you might want to connect your campaign to. So while the Global Power to Girls campaign will be using big global hooks, which you are more than welcome to join us for as you run your own national campaigns, it's also really worth thinking about activities that happen in your local area that are more relevant to your local decision makers and audiences. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Zoe. So you can also show your support on social media by sharing the campaign assets alongside your Power to Girls commitments and to amplify your own campaign activities. Using social media is a vital way to encourage other people to get involved and to drive other people to make a commitment to ending child marriage. Sharing on social media is a small, easy action that everybody can take, but together it can make a really big impact. So we've got a few quick, simple, but powerful actions that you can take. You can go to our campaign toolkit and use our social media assets to share your campaign commitment and also amplify your own campaigns. You can follow and share our hashtags. So use hashtag Power to Girls. There are also used in different languages, and also hashtag End Child Marriage. Please tag Girls Not Brides if you're tweeting at Girls Not Brides about the campaign and why it matters to you. And you can also pin a tweet to the top of your Twitter feed. You can also follow the hashtag, follow each other, and amplify each other's voices on social media, because we really want to replicate the multitude of voices that are passionate and determined to address this issue and call decision makers to take action. We want to replicate that on social media to make ourselves heard. So these are some simple actions that can go a really huge way to make our voices heard. And you can see on the screen here our Trello board, which has lots of different social media assets in various languages. We have English, French, Spanish, Hindi, Bangla, and Portuguese. So please do access that through the campaign toolkit on our website. Next slide. And finally, the media can be fantastic partners in any campaign and awareness raising to reach their audiences through their platforms. So we have some really useful tools to help you with that. The press release template on our campaign toolkit can be accessed through our website. The press release template is for sharing news. So if you have an event or new research or something going on in your community, you can use this template to contact the media. Alternatively, you can write an opinion article, which is an article or blog that shares a new or interesting opinion about child marriage. And we also have some guidance on that through the campaign toolkit. And we also have guidance in the toolkit to help you plan your messages and how to contact the press. When you're planning press and media activity for your campaign activities, the most important thing is to think about the person or the audience that you want to reach. And the media outlets who reach those audiences are the ones that you want to work with. So those are the people that you should be targeting to partner with to amplify your campaign.
You'll also find in our toolkit a whole range of different ways that you can amplify your campaign once you've got it started. And there's some few examples up on the screen now. So for example, one of the ways you could do it is really to make sure that you optimize all your different networks to get the message out far and wide. You'll also find in our toolkit an advocacy letter, which you can use as a template to send out to your decision makers to try and get them to support the campaign and follow through with making a commitment. It's important to think about launching campaign events and engaging your community as well. And there's different ways that you can do this, from a high-level meeting of decision makers talking about issues related to child marriage in your region, to holding a community march or local event, to hosting an online workshop. Of course, as mentioned earlier in this session, COVID-19 is of course a consideration that we need to think about when planning in-person events. A nice idea is also to recruit local champions to the cause, and thinking about influencers or celebrities that may bring additional attention to your issue and get the public on board or get your decision maker on board. I will let you explore the toolkit yourself to see all the different things that you can do with your campaign, but I do want to end on a message of not to give up. Sometimes when we're campaigning or working on an issue for a long time, it can feel like we don't see the change we want. But we know that every little thing we do will lead to something in the long term. We are all chipping away and making a difference. So good luck with your campaigns. I really hope as many of you as possible can join us. And I think let's open up for questions from the audience.
Thank you so much, Zoe and Miranda. That was great. We do have a couple of questions in the chat box. One is, what is the timeline of the campaign? And the second is, Harita from Rajasthan asked, is it possible for us to design the campaign activities by involving our adolescent girls?
Thank you. So the timeline of the campaign, we've launched this month. The global campaign will be running through until March 2022. However, we really encourage you, if you're launching your own campaign, to extend it beyond then and use it as a hook to engage decision makers. On the second question, absolutely, we 100% encourage you to involve adolescent girls and any other stakeholders in designing the campaign. It's important to have girls at the center.
Thank you, Zoe. There are also some questions and some requests for the PowerPoint to be shared. So maybe that's a resource we could put up on our website for people to access if they want to. There are quite a few comments about the different approaches that people are using in different parts of the world to increase girls' agency. There's another question. Yeah, okay. I think I already asked this one. Yeah, and there are also requests for the presentation in other languages like French. So we might need to work on that. Are there any other questions? If there are, please do. Okay, there's a question from Saurav in India who asks, okay, Saurav, your question is that in the Indian context, what have been the responses of priests and Maulvis in trying to stop child marriages as stakeholders? But you know, maybe Zoe and Miranda were talking a little bit more about the semantics of the campaign. Maybe this is something that we could discuss more at a regional level. We do promise to take it up. And Moronge David asks, will Girls Not Brides support the campaign, Zoe?
Absolutely. So here at the Secretariat, we want to amplify the national local campaigns that our members and partners run. So we will be promoting them on our website and over social media. So please do reach out and let us know if you are planning to launch something or have launched something, and we will do everything in our power to support you.
Okay. And then there's another question saying, what if you are not a member of Girls Not Brides? How should we engage with you? This is Blossoms from Nubian Savannah in Sudan.
Yeah, great question. So this campaign is not limited to just Girls Not Brides members. We want to bring the whole community of activists and civil society working on child marriage together. So even if you're not a member, please do reach out. We can connect you with Girls Not Brides members in your community, and we can still amplify your message and support your campaign in the ways that we can.
Thanks, Zoe. There's also some comments around organizations already getting grants to work on this, either through Amplify Change or others, and they're excited to build on this advocacy component through networks for girls and SRHR in their respective areas. Okay, there's another question saying from India, which asks, will we get funds for this program or campaign? And if yes, when will we get them?
Yeah, thank you. So at the moment, we are encouraging members to just send their expressions of interest in, and we are sharing as many tools for free on our website that will give you resources, messages, assets that you can use completely for free to launch and bolster the campaign.
Thank you, Zoe. I think, yeah, I think those are all the questions. If there are any others, I would invite you to continue to post them. And would just like to also maybe share a commitment, and would encourage all of you to once again connect with the link that's been shared on the chat and do share your commitments. This particular one that I'm reading out is from Raising Teenagers Uganda, which says, as an organization, we commit to continue creating safe spaces for young girls through school clubs and community clubs. And these spaces will give girls an opportunity to speak about issues affecting them and receive appropriate guidance. So you could be sending in your personal commitments, or you could also be sending in commitments as long-standing CSOs that have been working on the ground for a long time. We look forward to all of your commitments. And are there any other, I think we've also don't have any other questions. There are some links which you can explore that have been shared on the chat box. And with that, I would like to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to all our panelists and everybody sitting here in the audience. Thank you to Hope, Jonas, Pooja, Zoe, and Miranda for being here with us today. And I would like to hand over to Heather to share a little bit more about what's coming up. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Divya. And thank you all of you for being here for our first session of the festival. Please also join me in thanking the interpreters. Today is International Interpreters Day, and we're very glad that they're here with us. Thank you. The next session in this day will be on Power to Girls, Solutions to End Child Marriage. If you haven't already registered, you can go to the Girls Not Brides website and register now. In the break before that session, right now, we'll be having a stretch and relax session called Activists Need Self-Care Too, run by Marina, a Girls Not Brides activist and yoga instructor. Over to you, Marina.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our stretch and relax session. I'm really excited to lead a little space of self-care for all of us to enjoy. I know that many of us have very busy lives, and a lot of the activists in the partnership really care about the work that they do and care about supporting others. And what we really wanted to do is to create a little space for us to nourish ourselves and to find a moment for self-care. So that's exactly what we will do for the next 20 minutes or so. And before we start to come into some gentle stretches that will only involve your chair, I'd like us all to actually stand up and shake out any tension, anything that feels a little bit tight. Just take a little moment to shake out your legs, shake out your arms. And once you've done that, take a seat and find a way to make yourself 10% happier than you were before the start of the session. Maybe you grab your favorite blanket or a cushion, maybe you open a window, or maybe you just grab a candle and light it for yourself, but do some nice little act of self-care. And I also really invite you to switch off any notifications, any emails, any instant messaging, put away the phone, and just create a little bit of space where it's just you and self-care for the next 20 minutes or so. Whenever you're ready, come to sit in a comfortable seated position. So it's either maybe on your chair that you've been using so far, or maybe you're coming to sit cross-legged on the floor, whatever feels good for you. Just go ahead and do that. And start to really close down the eyes and stacking the chest above the hips, really lengthening the spine here, lengthening the back of the neck, maybe tucking the chin ever so slightly towards the chest, and seeing whether you can lift the crown of the head higher towards the ceiling, releasing the shoulders away from the ears. Feeling the feet pressing into the floor. If you're sitting cross-legged, maybe feeling the whole of the legs as they release into the gravity, and sensing the sitting bones pressing into the chair, pressing into the floor. And as you feel that connection to the ground, allowing the spine to maybe lengthen just a little bit more. Starting to notice all of the sensations that make up being you right now. Maybe you're feeling the little breeze brush past the skin. Maybe you're sensing the temperature. You may be noticing little signs of discomfort, areas that are perhaps a little tense. You may also be noticing certain parts of the body that feel great. Allow that to just